Hi, my name is Kayla and I help small business owners with QuickBooks Online. Now in this video, I'm going to show you the number one mistake that I see owners make when they reconcile. So I'm going to show you an example. I'm in the sample QuickBooks and we're going to kind of do a run through of reconciling May. And I'm going to show you what I tend to see that people will do. And, it's not on purpose, but it causes more of a problem than you would realize or than you would think. So I'm going to show you what's going on here. So here we are on the bank register. You might probably be starting from the bank feed, and we're going to go to reconcile at the top here. All right, so we're just going to start off like normal. We're going to reconcile May. So you would look at the bank statement, the ending balance, or the new balance would be this. Okay, so always double check that the balance, the amount, there's no typos there. All right, that looks good. And then we're going to put in the ending date according to the bank statement. Most checking accounts will end on the last day of the month. Some of them will cut off at a weird place. So just see what the ending date is for your statement. All right, we're going to start reconciling. Now here, we get started. I do have another video on just an introduction on how to reconcile. So you can see that as far as what are we looking at here on the screen. But if you're already familiar with that, I'm going to show you what could be happening that's actually causing a problem or causing a mess in the books. All right, so here it's telling us that we're $800 off. All right, now I will tell you ahead of time, a little preview. There's actually more things wrong than just the $800, but what QuickBooks knows offhand is $800. So we're going to first let's address that. We're going to come down here and there is $800. Now, this is something that can be a common reason of why it's telling you it's off. Notice it was May 31st, it cleared. So it cleared on the 31st and our bank statement ended on the 31st. So sometimes when it ends about the same date or on the same date, sometimes it just didn't make it on that statement. So on the next statement, when we go to reconcile June, we'll see this $800 on the June statement. So it cleared right at the cutoff date and it just didn't make it on the May statement. So in this case, we know, all right, it did clear in the bank. It's just going to be on the June statement, so we can uncheck it. Okay, so now QuickBooks is telling us a zero difference and encouraging us to finish now, but we can't quite finish now. Let me come back up to the top. Keep in mind that when you reconcile, the purpose of reconciling is to make sure that what's recorded in QuickBooks, what's on the register in QuickBooks agrees with your bank statement. So if it doesn't agree, that's why we're reconciling. We want to make sure that our register and the transactions we're recording in QuickBooks agree with the bank or the credit card account if you're reconciling a credit card. So we want it to agree with the bank statement. And if it doesn't, we would want to know that, right? We would want to know if something is missing from our register in QuickBooks or something extra is on our register in QuickBooks. We would want to know that so that we can keep things on track and clean in our QuickBooks. When we reconcile, that's where we can discover things that maybe are missing or don't belong on our registers. That's really a key purpose of reconciling. So if we're too quick to click finish now, it tells us zero difference, finish now. If we're too quick to do that, we're kind of not fully reconciling. We didn't really do the full purpose of it. So here's the number one mistake that I will see is clicking finish now. We're thinking that you're done reconciling when actually there are rows on this list, and you may have already noticed that there's rows here that are unchecked. So that's a problem. So there are rows here that are unchecked. And now that allows you to have a zero difference. So that way the balances, our QuickBooks balance or our cleared balance and our statement balance, now they're the same number. That's nice. The problem is the balance itself and QuickBooks is still going to be off because these items, these unchecked rows, they're still sitting on your register and they're still causing your balance to be off. So that is where we're not really done reconciling. And this was good. This is why we reconcile. We found things that don't belong. We found some items brought to our attention so we can resolve them and keep the books on track. So let's address that now. Our first item here, and I will also just make a note, there are a couple scenarios where it actually would be correct to leave it unchecked, and I'm going to show you that now. So there's a couple times where it is right to leave it unchecked and go ahead and finish now, and it would be okay. But we don't want to assume that. So definitely don't assume, oh, just because it's unchecked, it's probably for a good reason. It might not be. So we want to double check on that. So our first row that is unchecked, notice that QuickBooks automatically checked off all the green boxes or the rows with green boxes. The green boxes just mean that you entered this using the bank feed or using that bank transactions menu. So they automatically checked off what's in the with green boxes, and then that got us the zero difference. With that, QuickBooks is trying to be helpful. They kind of did the math and figured which rows will allow you to get to a zero difference. So that was nice and helpful. It saves us a bit of time. So that's good, but we still do have issues on the register that need to be resolved. So we cannot click finish now. So I'm going to show you how to correct some of these things, some common issues, but that's really my main point that I want to get across today is if you see any unchecked rows, look at why are they unchecked. If it's for a good reason, fine. But if it's not, make sure to resolve that before you click finish now. So if you have to let it sit there and wait and take some time to figure out why it's there, and maybe it'll take you a little time to resolve it, that would be okay. And that would be the best thing. Resolve it first. And then once you get it resolved, then come back and hit finish now. All right, so that's definitely a great way to for clean books and keeping your balance on track would be to resolve it first before you click finish now. All right, so let's see what's happening with this $100 check. This is kind of scenario one of where it's okay. So this check, we manually entered it on the register. We manually entered this in QuickBooks just so we remember about this check, but it just hasn't been cashed yet. So that's okay. We wrote it on May 1st, and I guess the person just is kind of slow to cash the check. If it's been a while, maybe you need to contact them and see, did you lose it? What happened? So this is where it would be okay. It will be on the statement. So it is okay to leave this unchecked. This is something that we know this is a real transaction and it will be on the statement once it's been cashed. So this is okay to leave unchecked. All right, now as we come on down, these things were cleared. They came through the bank feed. All right, now look at this one, $50. So notice the next row that is checked is also $50 to the same customer or from the same customer and on the same date or off by one day. So notice that. So that's where we have a duplicate income. So we definitely don't want that on our register. All right, I will come back and fix that in just a moment, but let's see what else do we have. All right, then we have this $75 to Pam on May 12th, but the row above is also $75 to Pam on May 12th. So this is also, notice it's coming in and it's going back out. So it's technically not a duplicate, but it is definitely an issue that we need to resolve, and we don't want this just left like that on the register. Now these two items, or really these last three, this is the scenario of they just haven't cleared yet in the bank. The statement ending date was on the 31st, and they just haven't cleared yet. So we know these are legitimate transactions. There's nothing strange about them. They didn't quite make it on the May statement, but they will be. So the things that would be okay to leave unchecked are things that you know will be on the statement. The things that are unchecked and are a problem are the things like the $75 and the $50 that no, they belong on the May statement, but we've got something extra happening or something missing. So that's where we want to resolve this. I'm going to show you now. I keep referring to the register, but let me show you what that means. So if you were to actually at the top of the page click bank register, it'll take you there, and there you get a better picture of what's going on. So here again, green boxes, this came through the bank feed, or we matched it on the bank feed, so that's good. And here's our $100. It just hasn't cleared yet, but we manually recorded it. All right, the $50, the duplicate. So here, when you are trying to resolve unchecked rows or see what's going on with them, it is good to come to the register, and there you can get, usually you can get a better picture of what's going on to help you resolve it or see how to resolve it. All right, and the $800, it already cleared and it did come through the bank feed. It just didn't actually make it onto the May statement. These two, without a green box, we manually entered these, and they also just haven't cleared yet, and they didn't make it onto the May statement. Okay, so now let's actually resolve these two issues. So here, okay, the $100, okay, the $50, okay, this is something, this, I can make another video about this, or if you want to meet over Zoom so we could kind of get into the details about this. But from this, I know what the problem is. To explain why I know what the problem is, that's going to be another video. But just for time today, this $50, notice we've got an invoice payment. So notice in this column, it's an invoice payment and a deposit. But we know, and just from, just because this would be your own business and you know what sales came in, we know that we didn't get two $50 deposits or two $50 payments from Freeman Sporting Goods. We know that only happened once, so something's fishy about this one. So let's go resolve this, and for this we're going to go to the bank feed. The problem with this was that it was added from the bank feed instead of being matched. So we're going to fix that. That's really a common issue that happens, that would cause your balance to be off or cause extra rows to be on the list when you go to reconcile. So I'm going to go to categorized on the bank feed. I'm going to search for that amount. Okay, so here's my deposit, but notice it says it was added, but we already recorded that invoice payment, so it should have been matched to the invoice, not just directly added in. So that caused a duplicate. We're going to undo that. And as I'm doing this, let's see. Okay, so now we have a match. So notice the dates match up, the amounts match up. So we are good to click match, and now it will not be showing up there twice. So if it's showing up there twice, what does that mean? It's on the profit and loss twice. It's on your income list on the profit and loss twice, and we definitely don't want that. So it really is worth taking the time to truly reconcile and truly resolve things that are either missing or don't belong on your register. All right, so what else do we have here? I'm going to refresh and we'll see that $50 just one time instead of twice. All right, I'm going to come on down. Oh, I passed it. There we go, $50. So only one time. That is what we want. The $50 payment is the one that has the green box, and that's good. So that's the original payment, and then it got matched on the bank feed. So that is good. Only there once, and that'll show correctly on your profit and loss. Now the $75, this is something doesn't happen as frequently, but I've definitely seen this happen. So just in case this has happened to you, I'm going to click on this row. I'm going to click edit so it opens the full expense record. And notice here, the category is the checking account, but up here, the payment account is the checking account. So that's a problem, right? So the category should be the just the expense category, the income category. All right, so this is causing this issue where, let me close this again. All right, so when we come back down to the $75, so see, by selecting the category as the bank account, or if you're doing the credit card, maybe it's the credit card account that was selected. By doing that, it's kind of circling back in. So it's here as an expense and back in as a deposit. So it's basically getting canceled out. There is no category selected. That means it's missing from your profit and loss. So by addressing and resolving these issues, you are helping your reports to be cleaner and more accurate. So, and that's really the most important thing. We want our bank balance to show correctly. We want the bank balance to show correctly, and we want our balance sheet and our profit and loss. We want those things to show correctly. So we're seeing correct information for decisions, and also when you send it off to those reports to your accountant, and the accountant will file the forms correctly. So, so as you can see, this is really quite important. So the $75, I'm going to go back to the bank feed because there you can kind of see it a little better of why that happened, because I do see this happen from time to time. Okay, so I'm going to undo this one. And also, while I'm doing this, just a little bonus tip, never click undo if you've already reconciled that time period. So let's pretend this date was April. Well, we've already reconciled April, and if I hit undo, it's going to cause a problem. QuickBooks doesn't like that. When you go to reconcile, it's going to give you a little error message. So, so don't click undo if you've already reconciled. Just click the link here and resolve it or correct it from the link of the transaction itself. All right, now for review. When we come here, now here they're giving us a match. So I'm actually going to change this just to show you why this happens. Okay, so kind of ignore what I'm doing here just to show you a better example. Okay, so here, whenever I see that where the category was the bank account, it tends to be actually QuickBooks fault, and you maybe just entered it on the bank feed a little too quickly and didn't notice it. So what happens is sometimes you see here QuickBooks is suggesting a category. Well, that's not the right category, but sometimes it'll suggest the bank account as the category. So just watch out for that. Whenever that happens, if you're not paying attention, you click add, and then you cause that issue where it kind of circles back in. So here, another reason that could have happened is that it is confusing because it says the word account. So you're thinking, well, this came into the bank account, so that's what I'll select. So that's actually not what they mean. They just mean by account, and they're giving you a little description here, but by account, they just really mean the category. So in our case, we'll just put this was the category. Okay, 1 second. Okay, it's not selecting, but there we go. Okay, so then we're going to add that in. Okay, and now let's come back and refresh the page where we were reconciling. All right, so here, let's look things over again. Okay, good, much better. So now the $100, that just hasn't been cashed yet. These two we manually recorded, they haven't cleared yet. This did clear, it just didn't make it on the statement since it was right on that cutoff date. So we're gonna leave those unchecked and that'll be okay, but we did resolve the unchecked rows that were a problem. We're still at 0 difference, and that's of course what we want. And now we can click finish now. Okay, great. So that is what you want to be doing when you're reconciling. Just look out for any unchecked rows, anything that doesn't belong there, or maybe is duplicated or missing. Correct, go to the register, go to the bank feed, and see if you can resolve what's going on, but resolve it first So that would just be my main point is not being quick to hit that finish now button, but resolve the issues first. Make sure you know for sure why they're unchecked, and then continue. I will show you real quick on the right side, history by account. When you reconcile, each month or each time period that you reconcile, it'll have a report. So here you have a reconciliation report, statement ending balance. That is what, that's the statement, the statement ending balance that we entered. And the register balance, let me see the register balance. This is because we did have a check that's not being cashed. That's good. If we have things that we manually enter that haven't been cleared yet, that's good, because then we can see, well, what is our real balance? What's really in there that we can spend, that we don't forget about, that some checks we wrote are floating out there and they could be cashed at any minute. So before kind of making decisions, what's the real bank balance of, including any outstanding transactions. So that's really helpful to know. When I come down here, this is uncleared transactions as of May 31st. So these we know are legitimately belong there. But if we had extra things, if we didn't resolve those transactions, they would just be sitting here on this list, and that's a problem. So they'd just be sitting on this list as uncleared, but they were actually causing our balance to be off. They're not telling us the right balance, and they're not showing up correctly and causing errors on our profit and loss report. So, so definitely important to correct those, and then only what's uncleared, either nothing's uncleared or things that we know on purpose belong there. And uncleared after the 31st, well, these are just transactions that happened after May. So we're not going to worry about that until we go to reconcile June. So it's not time to reconcile these yet. Okay, so I hope that helps. That's really kind of the number one piece of advice that I would give when you're reconciling, is just really pay attention. So even if it tells you 0 difference and finish now, before going for that button, just look anything unchecked first, make sure it's resolved, and then click finish now. All right, so if you have any questions, let me know. My website, you can also visit there if you need to schedule Zoom, if you realize you saw quite a few issues that you need some help on. And my information's on the homepage there, so you can reach out to me on my website as well. All right, so have a great rest of your day and good luck with QuickBooks.